Hey there, Ribbon fans. I'm Jason Ruff, joining alongside Ribbon head coach Coach Trudel. It's time once again for Trudel's Take, brought to you by Health Alliance. Well, here we are, episode 20, not necessarily week 20 of the year, but the last week of the regular season, coming off a split weekend against Vermilion County and Quad City. What did you learn about your team last weekend?
Well, against Vermilion, I think we got a lot of flashes of offensive greatness, which we kind of expect. You know, like I said, Vermilion struggling a little bit this year, and you're going to have a lot of those opportunities. And it seems like we made good out of every opportunity we had. And then it's always hard when you go from a team like Vermilion, then you hit Quad City that they got embarrassed by us 9-4 the last game they played us. So you knew they were going to come out hard, which they did, and we just didn't respond. I think. I always say the biggest thing why guys are at this level, it's usually that mental part where sometimes you have to understand who you're playing, why they're playing, what's the purpose of that game, and understanding that they're going to come out hard. And usually when you play at home, you have to not only match, but I'd say outwork that intensity, and we didn't that. We just weren't ready. It took us until the third period where we actually started moving a little bit. And I think, again, that's just, I don't know if it's the season being long or, you're kind of looking forward to the playoffs. But unfortunately, we lost a lot of like we always talk about, great opportunities to get better, and we lost them in that game.
I think it's all those 3-3s that you had in January and February and March. That's just my take on it. I don't know about you, but
I think everything they said for years, hockey's mental, and it is. If you don't come ready, for me, we're just another team. Like, you look at every single team that are going to make the playoffs. I think every team's as talented as the other. You just have to, a lot of times it's the details, goaltending, and your best players have to be your best players, and we didn't have that last game against Quad City.
But if you look at this team statistically, I think this is the most well-rounded team in the entire SPHL. You've got 3 guys in the top 4 of overall goal scoring. You are in the top 2 of goals against average. You've got 2, in my opinion, of the best goaltenders in the league. So you've got really good goaltending. Special teams is top 1 or top 2 if they slip for whatever reason. It's been like that most of the year. Statistically, this is, in my opinion, the most well-rounded team in the SPHL. But in a 3-game series, one bad game can really disrupt you there.
And that's what we're trying to do the last 4. We wanted to make sure that we brought it every single game, because in the playoffs, even if one bad period, I remember in the finals here, we had a 4-1 lead against Huntsville, and the guys started cheating all over, and all of a sudden we lost 5-4, and we lost in Game 3 in that series. So one bad period can cost you the series, and that's why I always say your consistency in everything you do is important. And when you come to a hockey game, you have to be ready mentally for 60 minutes or more in the playoffs. You don't know how long it's going to take you to win the game, so you can't have a bad shift. You can't, and that's. I think you built that over the year. You can't just. I told these guys before, even me as a player, I felt like I had a decent career, but I still wasn't talented enough to just turn the switch on and off whenever I wanted. It had to be consistent effort every single day and habits and stuff like that. So that's why I was disappointing in that game. I really wanted us to focus the last 4 games of the year to be consistent in our effort and everything we do to make sure we give ourselves an opportunity to win every playoff game. So we lost one there, but hopefully we come back, and now it's our turn not to be happy, and we're getting him back on Friday.
Looking back at the beginning of this year, like when we did our first episode, we talked a lot about having to build this team up, and you flat out said you didn't care where the team finished as long as they make the playoffs. That is goal number 1 and really the only goal, and then you go from there. What has surprised you the most about this group looking back over the course of the season?
Well, we came a long way. At the beginning of the year, I think everybody was in that position, the whole league, and it was hard to find players. The pool of players were really slim, so it was tough. But I felt like what we did the best here in Peoria is we brought character guys that they mesh well together, and they work extremely hard, and that's I'm sure every team thinks that way. And on your questions before, you feel like we're the most rounded team. I always say every coach in the league feel like they're the most rounded team. So we certainly do feel like we did a really good job of putting in the work every single day. We feel like structure-wise and skill-wise, I feel like we developed as a hockey player, as a team. And, because for me, even when you're at the SPHL level, I know you're a pro and you're supposed to know a lot of things, but I believe teaching and getting better at skill and IQ every single day is important. And I feel like as a hockey team, we put in the effort to make sure daily we got a little bit better.
Well, every coach may think that. Granted, I am biased. I'm not a coach, but I am biased. But I also look at the numbers, and they do point to something that there is something here with this Peoria Rivermen squad. But really, I think when you look at also another key I wanted to bring up, look at post-regulation play. A little bit, beginning of the season, kind of some challenges there for your team. As of late, however, this team has been able to find its stride both in terms of the shootout, though seemingly it's been forever since the Rivermen have had a shootout game, but more recently in overtime they've started to find that stride. You don't play 3-on-3, you play 5-on-5 till someone scores in the playoffs. But when you have success in overtime in the regular season, how can that help transition over to the postseason?
I think everything in hockey gives you a little confidence when you have success at it. So it doesn't matter if it's 3-on-3. There's no 3-on-3 in the playoffs, but just scoring those goals, either individually or as a team, it gives you confidence. So that's what you love about those type of situation and when you have success in them. But at the end of the day, as a coach, I always say coaches are a little bit more realist, understanding that there's no 3-on-3, understanding that no matter if you gain a little bit of confidence, it's completely different in the playoffs. No matter if you finish first, second, or third, whoever you play at the bottom, they've been stacking their team. Look at Evansville. They got like 4 guys from the ECHL in the last 2 months. They got a lot of firepower. So it doesn't matter what team. I feel like when you enter the playoffs, the only thing that gave you to finish in the top 4 is it gave you home ice advantage. So you have that game 3 at home if ever you need it. That's the only advantage you get, because team-wise, to be honest with you, I really do believe right now all 8 teams in the playoffs, talent-wise, it's pretty similar. Now it's about who wants it more, who wants to do the habits, who wants to block shots, which goaltending is going to be the best. And then also, I always say at the end of the playoffs, you usually see the leading scorers or the best players of certain teams when your best players do well. Look at last year. I mean, Hags did really well with Pensacola, and they won a championship. So if your best players perform well, then you have a chance to win.
Well, not only best players, but also you're going to need depth guys to show up. You're going to need rookies to show up. The Rivermen have been, I think, blessed this year with having a number of key rookies come in and step up. Obviously led by Marcel Gabout, leading rookie scorer in the SPHL. You also have the Buzz line going crazy as well. We've talked ad nauseum about those guys. But what do you think is it about this culture and this team that has allowed these rookies to just come in and really make an impact almost out of the gate? Is it something in the water here? Is it coaching, or is it just you got lucky with guys?
Yeah, no, it's not coaching, that's for sure. It's more and we're not allowed to call them rookies anymore. It's we can't hurt anybody's feelings. So we're going to call them first-year players.
First-year players.
And to be honest with you, I always had a thing here. We don't believe in first-year players. I do that with my junior team. I always say, if you start categorizing players, easily they can lose confidence just to think that you're always picking on first-year players and stuff like that. So I don't believe, and I learned that about 5 years ago. I was reading something about Zdeno Chara talking about the Boston Bruins. It didn't matter if you were called up from the AHL, didn't matter if you were Patrice Bergeron, doesn't matter your status, you're all the same. You're just a player on the ice trying to get the team better, and we're lucky here. We got great first-year guys that came in, and it'd be hard to call Marcel a rookie when he's actually probably the most talented player in the league. So I always say, we don't do that here in Peoria. Everybody's treated the same. We have tons of respect for absolutely everybody that wears a jersey and gives efforts to make sure we have a chance to win every single game.
How important do you think was it for Jack Barry to return to this Rivermen squad now that he reinforces the goaltender position going into playoffs?
Well, it's key because even at this point right now, we don't know who the starters are going to be in the playoffs. We feel like we have 2 good goalies, and no matter how good of a year or bad a year you had, it's always how hot were you entering the playoffs to me. And it's like that for every single player from forward to D. You want to gain that momentum right before the playoffs, and I always say that those hot teams are very dangerous. So it doesn't matter if you finish first, second, or 7 and 8. If you're hot entering the the playoffs and you have tons of confidence and your goaltender's playing really, really well, whoever you put in net, you're a dangerous, dangerous team. So for right now, we're absolutely blessed to have Jack back here and Levy all year. So we feel like we have a great goaltending duo, and now we're gonna, I've been watching tape on both, and we're gonna see when the playoffs start who we're gonna put in net to start game one. But to be honest with you, if we win it all this year, both goalies are going to have their chance, and they're going to have to do something special for us because it's always the case. Yeah, and not just that. Yeah. I think the relationship they have together is key, and then also I think they push each other to be better. Yeah. So the focus is there, and then it seems like NHL at this level you can go with one goalie, but we know if it slips a little bit or if we feel we have a better matchup, that's a big thing also because some goalies play better against other teams, and you look at Jack Barry against Huntsville this year, he's got some phenomenal games against Huntsville. So for us, it's just about a matchup thing sometimes because, like I said, when you're blessed and you have two goalies that are over a .920 save percentage, you have a lot of confidence in both of them, so you're not too worried about that.
No, certainly not at all. The Rivermen also get home ice for the first round at Carver Arena. How impactful will that be in the first round here, and how important is that here for the first round?
It's beautiful. We love our locker room. We have a great setup here, so it's always nice to be home. And then it depends who we're playing because we might have to start the first game on the road, but we still, we still have our two games here if necessary at the Civic Center. It's great because as much as it's fun to play at Owen Center, like we had some, it's fun times, but it's always nice to be in your barn. Hopefully, I always say it's a lot better when it's loud. So hopefully the fans, and I know it's a quick turnaround, but hopefully the fans support us and come and see us because as a player and as a coach, a lot more fun to play, in front of a lot of people. Right. And again, Peoria only has a few pro sports teams, so we have to make sure that we encourage them and come out and those boys, I think, really deserve the fans to be there for the playoffs because I don't know if they know how important they are, but it's an absolute big difference when the place is rocking and it's a lot of fun to play.
Certainly so. The Rivermen have had a ton of success at home in Carver Arena this season. I believe they've only lost 4 games grand total in this building here this year. I think that speaks to not only the home ice advantage, but just the pride they take in playing in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, it's one thing we try to teach our players. Like Peoria is still a blue-collar town, and these people work hard to be able to afford those tickets. And when they come here, they honestly, I don't think they care about wins and losses, but they want to see a team representing the city of Peoria well. And I feel like we did that all year, except for last game and maybe a few games. It's going to happen. You can't play outstanding for all 28 home games, but I felt like we gave the fans a lot of great things, and I think that most importantly, we showed up every single day and make sure we put the effort in.
So this next question is going to be a little bit of a fun one. In the next week, how many hours of sleep do you think you're going to get?
Well, it's already started the last few weeks because right now I'm pre-scouting 4 teams. So it's not just, usually around this time of the year you kind of know who your opponents or 2 opponents are going to be. Right now it's, we have a chance to play all 4. So I've been pre-scouting a lot of the 4 teams, but it's part of a job. I mean, I don't call it a job because I'm still in the world of hockey. So it's beautiful. And I always say training camp for 2-3 weeks and play right before the playoffs and playoffs. You, as a coach, you don't sleep, and it's what you love to do. Though, like it's not that I don't want to sound like I'm working hard. We all work hard. It's just that those part of the season are a little bit more hectic, a little less sleep,
of course,
and the eyes struggle a little bit to open a little bit more. But when the game starts, man, I'm excited to see our boys play all the time, no matter what.
You don't need any of that coffee when it gets game time, do you?
No, the adrenaline kicks in, but before it, I need a lot of coffee.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But we have a great coffee club here.
Exactly. I was just about to mention the Grinders probably have you all.
The Grinders actually. I mean, they've been bringing me cups of coffee right on my desk right now, so I'm spoiled right now.
Someone real likes you. Yeah, I think so.
Or they want more power play time. One of the two.
I think it's a combination
there
of both.
You go.
Last question for you, Guy, before we let you go for the last time here this season. When you look at this group entering the playoffs, you've been coaching for so long. You've had so much success, both in the regular season and the postseason. You've been all the way to just about to the summit. What is it about this team that makes you think this team can do it?
I think this year, I don't know if we had some teams with a lot of talent. I think this year, though, we have more motors. We have more guys that are built for playoff hockey. The second, third effort, the never quit. Because, in playoffs, there's not going to be any pretty goals. You're going to have to go and work for them.
Yep.
And I think we're built a little bit more that way. We have a lot of guys that are not afraid to go net presence. We have a lot of guys that are second, third effort. Or we have a lot of guys that like the physicality. So we're built a little bit different. So it's going to be interesting. You like I said, you never know in the playoffs, but I like this group because of we kind of know every game what to expect. I mean, we know we're going to go, and if we lose, we're going to make it very hard on the other team to win that game. And I always say it's harder to win. So if they do win that game, it's going to be, a battle for them to get to the right spots, make sure they score. And I think we have a lot of competitors. We have guys that want to win. We have guys that might be their last season, so they want to put it together. And I always say that the biggest thing in playoffs is goaltending, and I feel like we have two really good goalies.
Okay, I tell you what. Playoff hockey is the most exciting hockey in the world, bar none. I can tell you from my experience, I am excited to see this group play in the playoffs. I think everyone else in Peoria is excited. We can't see you guys out on the ice. But first, we got one more weekend to get done through here before we get to the postseason. Guy, it's been a pleasure talking with you this season,
Thanks,
my
buddy.
friend. Best of luck.
Thanks, Ruffer. Always a pleasure, buddy.
This has been Trudel's Take with Riverman head coach John G. Trudel and Jason Ruff. We'll talk to you later, Riverman fans. Thanks for joining us.